December is the month where, in between all the holiday festivities, we start to think about the coming year and how we may want to do things differently. Today, I'm talking with Dr. Christiane Schroeter about how to take our aspirations and goals for the coming year and make them a reality through an uncommon, unexpected approach of staying grounded, connected, and taking things one bite at a time. Dr. Schroeter is a business and wellness coach known for her European flair. She helps women improve their health and confidence so that they can show up in their life and their business differently. Christiane has a PhD in health economics and teaches marketing, innovation, and entrepreneurship. She has earned multiple national and international teaching and publication awards. Most of her clients find Dr. Christiane through her Happy Healthy Hustle podcast, which is ranked among the top 1.5% globally. Christiane creates a community on Instagram and YouTube. You can find her there, sharing how to nurture your health without all the overwhelm. If you are exhausted by the thought of another to-do list to get things done, you'll definitely want to tune in and check out this episode. Hey, Rebels, welcome to Blasphemous Nutrition. Consider this podcast your pantry full of clarity, perspective, and the nuance needed to counter the superficial health advice so freely given on the internet. I'm Aimee, the unapologetically candid host of Blasphemous Nutrition and a double-degreed nutritionist with 20 years' experience. I'm here to share a more nuanced take on living and eating well to sustain and recover your health. If you found most health advice to be so generic as to be meaningless, or so extreme that it's unrealistic, and you don't mind the occasional F-bomb, you've come to the right place. From dissecting the latest nutrition trends to breaking down published research and sharing my own clinical experiences, I'm on a mission to foster clarity amidst all the confusion and empower you to have the health you need to live a life you love. Now let's get started. Christiane, welcome to Blasphemous Nutrition. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Aimee. I'm certainly excited to share some of my insights here with you on your podcast episode.
Yes, I'm so excited to hear how you help people take their big dreams and goals and aspirations for themselves and make it a reality. Like, that is the heart of what you do, right? Is to help people through as you call them, the petite practices that bring them to the fulfillment of their dreams. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that process that you've created.
Yeah, thank you for asking. And I love that you immediately use that term, petite practice, which is something that came to me one evening. I tend to have great ideas when I take showers, something like that. Power of water, and then I come out and I'm stepped away from my desk and I come out and I'm like, oh la la. I do really like French. I am not born in France. I'm born in Germany. In the United States to the Midwest to earn my PhD in health economics. And I'm a professor. I teach marketing, innovation, entrepreneurship, and I have a private coaching business that's called Hello Happiness, where I help others with their mindset, with their marketing, and of course with their entrepreneurial challenges, struggles, and mostly overwhelmed, which is why that term petite practice is so relevant. Because I also have 2 teenage daughters. So I have my full-time job, I have my family, I have my coaching business. And many times I get that question, how do you do it all? And that really brought me to the point, do I really want to tell people, oh, yes, you can do it all and it's going to be all amazing? I think what I'm rather going to tell people is, yes, you can do it all, but you maybe have to make things a little smaller in terms of how you accomplish them. And it starts with having children to where all of a sudden you realize the chunks of time that you have for yourself have been tremendously reduced.
Yes,
Having like an hour to yourself, or maybe cleaning the house in like a long time, and you're like, all right, this was great. You might have to do like 5 or 10 minutes here And you have to be okay with the fact that things don't get done immediately. So the true petite practice is that you're slowly building progress, right?
I love that. I want to stop you though and tell me more about how you help people be okay with doing smaller tasks. 'Cause I know that's something a lot of people struggle with, particularly if they are accustomed, if they're go-getters, they're, well, what we call type A, and they love the big, hard, hairy, audacious goals. And one of the things my clients often tell me is like, I'm an all or nothing person, or I'm a perfectionist. It's either this or it's that. How do you facilitate that acceptance and even welcoming of breaking it down into smaller pieces and going at a slower pace, especially when everything in our culture tells us to hustle?
Great question. And that's actually the name of my podcast. It's called Happy Healthy Hustle. Perfect introduction to the word hustle. Frequently, we think of hustle and being a negative thing, right? Like we're always in a hurry. And sometimes even ask my teenagers, what's hurry? What's the hurry all about? Like, well, we constantly hustling. In reality, though, hustle is also kind of a good thing, right? I mean, we don't want to say I got rid of all my stress because that would be unnatural. You need to have stress in your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't survive, right? Because deadlines wouldn't mean anything to you. And you'd be like, well, no more, right? So you do need to have that stress just to get stuff done, right? At the same time, what you will need to maybe do is that you adopt a different mindset, that you create, and actually I do have a podcast episode about this that's called a 1-minute mantra. You create mantras for yourself that kickstart your motivation. So one of my mantra is, let's do it. And I basically, I have to put these blinders on, and I just have to focus on the one thing that I want to do. Maybe, and I'll sit down and for 15 minutes write out my podcast episode. Disregard that the dishes are not done, that the laundry is not folded, that maybe, I could be doing who knows what around the household, changing toilet paper rolls. I mean, things like totally mundane tasks, because I want to do my podcast episode now.
Right.
And so you have to walk by all these little minds of work, right? The little time traps, because you need to do your petite practice. And again, I always say 15 minutes, not talking an hour, right? So my podcast episodes are pretty short, and my work spurts are usually pretty short, because two reasons for that. A is I'm not a person I can sit down for very long. So I probably reincarnated as squirrel, right? That down and just sit. So it's just not happening with me. I have to keep moving, right? That's the one reason that I'm a busy individual. But the second reason for that is, think about it. If it really bugs you that the laundry is sitting there, or that the dishes are not done, or that the toilet paper rolls are not changed, is that really the make it or break it to your day? And I have to say, I am kind of a perfectionist. I do like my house neat and tidy. But right now, I have a laundry basket that's sitting outside for 3 days, because at the end of the day, it's okay. We still get dressed in the morning and things like that. And I'm also all right if I open the door and somebody brings me a package and they see the messy laundry there, because life is life.
Like it, by exactly.
Hey, we still have the laundry. So you will have to think that, and that is another one of my mantras, done is better than perfect. And because to me, I kind of bring things in my mind. I make sure my podcast gets out every 2 weeks. Yes, I also make sure my children are in school on time. Does the laundry need to be folded to accomplish those two goals? Not really, right? It does not really impact my podcast, the laundry, no. Does it impact that my children arrive on time to school? Well, the basket is right there. It's not like I'm hiding it from them. So they're just going through the basket in the morning and get some clean clothing and put them on. So check and check, right? We accomplished both things. The kids are healthy, happy. They're going to school. And I got my podcast episode out. So now that these two things are done, what I could do later is maybe I listen to the podcast recording that I get today while I fold the laundry. And so we got this done, and we're also taking care of the house. So what I would encourage you to think of is getting things done doesn't necessarily mean that they all need to be perfect or that they all need to be happening at the same time, because that's where the feeling of overwhelm frequently comes in. We're doing this to ourselves, right? It's your own choice.
Right. Yeah.
And you just have to choose your heart, right? Choose your own heart. If you want to have your household looks like, like always shiny and super organized, etc., then you might not be able to do your podcast episodes every 2 weeks. I just finished writing my book, and some people ask me, how did you write your book? Well, some other things didn't get done. And that's okay, because I added the book. I had to take something else off. I mean, obviously, my days didn't grow to 25 hours. So that's just what we'll have to do. We have to be okay with the fact that something else doesn't happen. But whenever you add something, you have to take something else off. And that is such an important change in your mindset that most people don't understand. They just keep adding and they think somehow it's all going to work out. It's not, because eventually your health will probably, it's all these balls that you're adding. And if your health breaks and one ball goes down, you can't fix it. All right? Yeah. A lot of balls in the air, but a lot of these balls, they're going to be just all right if you put them to the side for just a little while,
Exactly. Yeah. I think you're spot on there. We do have a tendency to inflate the importance of things in our lives beyond their actual importance. One of the questions that I often use to remind my clients that they don't necessarily have to be responsible for everything, like doing their children's laundry for them and putting it away, or taking on all of the tasks that their boss assigns to them, is to just, think if there was a situation where you neglected your health to the point that you were in the hospital for 2 weeks, would the company fall apart? Would the children be unable to wear any clothing, right? Things get figured out in extreme circumstances, and no single person is the one who holds everything together, right? Most of the time, there are either it's not so critical that everything will fall apart if it doesn't get done, or if it is super important, the people whom it impacts the most will find alternative solutions.
Love that. Yeah. I sometimes say, about different jobs, it's like, well, I don't work at the post office. Because if you think about the post office, is like you go in there, you drop off your mail, and put a stamp on it, they charge you for a package or something like that. And then that mail gets distributed. But if the postal worker takes vacation, there will be other people filling in, and the mail still gets processed, right? So think a little bit about that. Things still get done. There will be somebody else filling in, and it's kind of like that. Will they get done exactly in the same way? No, but the mail still gets to my mailbox. So it's just like that. And I think that we frequently tend to put too much of an emphasis, and I love that you actually brought up and nutrition as well, because I have a degree in foods and nutrition, and I have a PhD in health economics. That frequently people assume, because I have that all what we eat is like carrots and lettuce leaves all day long. And that we create like meals from scratch. And sometimes I tell them, oh yeah, like for instance, yesterday, and like, oh, did you make it from scratch? Oh goodness. No, and then I tell them, it's like, no, actually, we do go to stores and purchase processed foods. And do appreciate the 21st century innovations such as pasta in a box. And guess what? We even sometimes eat mac and cheese, Yeah. No. And then they're like, no way. Well, that leads to another great point, Aimee. What you share with the world becomes their reality. Right. So their perception about things is their reality.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes, you know, what you'll have to be okay with as well, that people immediately assume because you are a nutritionist or you work in the fitness industry, that all what you care about is those two things. Where at the end of the day, we're still real people with our flaws, with our drawbacks, with our time saving techniques. We don't always aim to have everything, 100% healthy. Actually, don't even love that term. And I also don't love the whole thing about that's good for you and that's bad for you.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot really about enjoying life
Yeah.
and thinking, yes, my kids had ice cream last night because we will have to also think a little bit that at the end of the day, our experiences that are just as important as learning different fruits and vegetables and how to put together a colorful plate that shows variety in terms of your nutrition. And we also work at the grocery store and we make decisions together. So I feel that all of this just comes back to, harmony, I call it, instead of balance. Harmony. You kind of have to think a little bit of, I want a little bit of everything. And that also is the ice cream or the chocolate chip cookies or whatever you can think of, the donuts.
Exactly.
At the end of this day, those donuts also really like to go with blueberries or something like that. So it's a harmony.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I really like that a lot. I love that word harmony instead of balance. It has, I think perhaps, part of it is that the word balance and balancing your life has been really kind of overplayed and overused as a phrase. But it also has this sense of always adjusting, always working on something, right? And harmony just has a peacefulness to it that feels very settled. And so I really appreciate the use of that word in that context. That's wonderful. One of the things that you had talked about with in terms of how others perceive you that may not be accurate and being okay with that, that reminded me of for those of us who are go-getters, for those of us who have a habit of saying yes to everything, but we are trying to prioritize ourselves and our health and adopt these petite practices in order to do so, sometimes that means disrupting what other people's perceptions are of you because you have to start saying, no, I actually can't do that. Or I'm not willing to do this because I'm prioritizing my health. For someone who is really struggling with claiming that gift of self-care and that gift of self-preservation because of how others will perceive them for taking back their time, what is some advice or guidance that you would give that person?
That's a great question. So it always starts with knowing yourself and learning about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What are maybe during the day, sometimes in the day where you feel you need a little bit time to yourself to reset, right? So for me, I created like these 2 times in the day where I feel like I need like these little optimizing moments, right? I call them actually bistro breaks.
Bistro breaks?
Bistro breaks, I call them, right? So I have one bistro break in the morning where I use my Duolingo language app. I go for a walk, I put my headset on, and I learn my French language.
Mm.
The second thing is that for whatever reason, at 2:30 during the day, 2:30 in the afternoon, that is, I tend to feel like I need like something like a little snack treat, something, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
So I make myself like a little vanilla latte. People sometimes think in order to be successful, you just need to go, 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 go. But what we really do need is these little 5-minute moments, these bistro breaks. And I cannot emphasize enough. So remember what I just talked about in the morning. I listen to my French and I do my French while I walk, right? So yes, I mean, it indirectly involves my phone because the app lives on my phone. But at the end of the day, I'm still living in my head in a different language in a different country. And then in the afternoon, I do my little vanilla latte situation. So both of these things, I'm stepping away from the computer and I'm doing something that I feel really recharges me. And then I come back having done these two things, and I actually sometimes even share them with the world. So what I sometimes feel is that we don't share those little moments because we feel, oh, who cares? Who cares that I do Duolingo? Who cares that I go for walks or that I make almond milk and that? When in reality, that's kind of like, I guess, celebrities or influencers call it the behind the scenes stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That is so important to make the scenes stuff, right? The work so important and so powerful because you did have those little bistro breaks to recharge. I like the word harmony because for some reason when I think of balance, I always think of two things, the work and the life. And Europeans live to work, and maybe the United States works to live, or something.
Exactly.
You could argue about that or not, right? But harmony, I feel like there's much more going on. There's like more colors that we all of a sudden adding to our little painting pots, and it's more like a little rainbow where there's so many different things that we're doing. And we all bring this into our personal harmony of what works for us. Because there's not like the one thing. Your personal point in the day might absolutely not be 2:30. Maybe it's 4 o'clock. Maybe, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Who knows what? But we just have to be okay with the fact that we each need time to ourselves to reset and recharge. No matter whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, we all need those moments where we reconnect with what does Aimee or Christiane need right now to make her a better Aimee and a better Christiane to help herself, others, family, clients, the world, right? So that's what we really have to think about. It's kind of like, in the airplane, you need to put your own seatbelt on to help others. So you need those moments for yourself. And then no matter how much people think about this, if they're okay with that. And so you have to get over that. Don't worry about judgment because just you do you, boo,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think too, I don't think there's anybody listening to this episode who's going to disagree that in the United States, the American lifestyle is live to work. Nearly everyone that I work with feels that, and they're aware that lifestyle and that cultural mindset is contributing to the decline in their health, to the decline in their energy, to their mental stress. And I think that, as you start to identify what it is that you need and you start to take those bistro breaks, those tiny little steps, those tiny little breaks to reconnect with yourself, to recharge so that you can do your best work, sharing it and making it, like, at least not hiding it, right? Making it known gives other people the permission to start considering that for themselves too. And if we're going to get out of the quagmire of overwork as a culture, we need to be witnessing people taking those steps. And I've had clients make significant headway in changing the culture of their work environment because they were the ones who were bold enough to take those first steps of setting boundaries on when they would check their email, when they would respond to Slack messages after work hours, right? And really holding firm but appropriate boundaries between work and the rest of their life. And other people witnessed that, and other people stepped up because they were asked to basically step up and take over some responsibilities that gave them a sense of empowerment and a sense of efficacy that they were actually being denied because, the one person who carries too many things ends up unintentionally preventing others from rising, right? Because they're taking the work on for themselves. So it really kind of shifted the dynamic of the work culture over time, which was really kind of amazing to witness. I can't help but notice how many references to Europe and European living that you have in your process. And you do, it's very much a part of your brand, as it were, right? Having this European flair to how you work. What are some other ways that you feel bringing in that sense of the European flair can help people create the kind of life that they're striving for?
Yeah, I have a third one. So just to review, like I have the petite practice, which is my main driving factor. Have the bistro break we talked about, which is to kind of reset with yourself. The third one I call Cafe Connect. Cafe Connect means now, maybe you make your vanilla latte, you have to actually connect with others. Can't emphasize the power of connecting, collaborating, and community on your mental well-being. Yes, we are all maybe living on our own little island working from home, but at the end of the day, you have to reach out to others to really build community. Because if you think, like being like really drastic, if you think about your gravestone, what would you like that your gravestone actually says about yourself? What you would like to be known for when you are not in the room, and people say about you, right? When you're not around, what is it that you want to be known for? You can really only plant that seed when you hang out with others, because otherwise they don't know, right? They don't know how amazing you are because they never really met you and they never interacted with you. So you have to make your cafe connect, right? And frequently what I do with my cafe connect is I call it like a walk and talk, a walkie-talkie. Doesn't even have to be in person, but even like walk and talk. And I think that's how we met, Aimee. I think I went on my walkie-talkie and we were talking, and I was walking outside and we were talking on Zoom or on the phone while I was walking outside. So that's a great walkie-talkie. And I might have even had a coffee along the way. But anyway, we connected, and now I feel we have a great connection across the miles, and we're building a community. We are probably going to collaborate on more things. Then on the podcast, you might have other things that come out of this. So think of this as you can have to plant the seeds with yourself and putting yourself out there. And while that might seem immediately intimidating, you're like, oh my gosh, but I mean, who cares what I have to say? Well, I'm going to say, well, who does not care? Because you are everything, right? I mean, don't say who cares, but I would rather say, well, I mean, I know you're amazing. You know you're amazing. But do they know you are? Oh, right? So you have to obviously share with the world that you have something special to offer. And why don't you start in just saying, let's grab some coffee together? But now this is the thing. And I know this was a big cultural shift when I came to the United States. It's very frequently that people say, oh, yeah, let's meet up for some coffee or something like that. Or actually, it's like, let's go out dinner together soon. This is, and just
This is my greatest pet peeve of the 21st century is that American culture adopted the let's get together soon, which means absolutely fucking nothing.
No, you're exchanging Christmas cards. Like, hell yeah, Christmas cards. And ultimately, you're all here. But hey, it's my Christmas card. It's like, let's get together soon. Next time you see each other, it's the Christmas card exchange the next year. It's like, man, we really have to catch up. Been a long time. Oh my God, it's been like 12 months. But hey, get together soon. So here's the thing, Cafe Connect. right? Don't make it such a big ordeal. Don't make it a dinner or like, oh my gosh, like we should have Thanksgiving and have everybody over to our house. Think about the petite practice. Think about the bistro break. Bistro break does not mean 5-course dinner with turkey and all the stuffing, all that kind of stuff. We're talking small. Petite practice means you don't even need to go and make coffee. You could even like leave the laundry where it is, leave the dishes where they are, and just say, can we just meet at a coffee shop? I mean, like, I know that might be $5 for coffee, but at the end of the day, you're building connection and community, and that might be way more important for your sanity than worrying about a messy household. Just get out of your house, just to go outside. And then, of course, what's important is, and I tell it my daughters all the time, you need to schedule it.
Yes.
We are not talking 2 hours. You need a person. And what I immediately do is my calendar is on my phone. I say, all right, so you want to grab coffee? What works for you, right? So let's get this on the calendar right now. Oh, so then you schedule it. And again, my daughter that sometimes go, wow, I want to hang out with my friends for 3 hours. I'm like, whoa, that's a long time. That does not sound like a petite practice to me. That sounds more like a big practice thing. So what you need to think about, 30 minutes for coffee are quite amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's quite lovely to meet somebody for 30 minutes, very refreshing. And then, of course, you need to also think in that moment, it's you and the person. You're not checking your email. You're not worrying about to-do lists or like running late. Blah, blah. You're going to get there on time. You're going to focus on that person. You give them then the one attention. And after 30 minutes, you're going to be leaving and you're moving on with your life. And ideally, maybe even scheduling something else. So that's how you need to think about this, right? You need to think about this as intentional. What's my intention? What am I really here for? I'm here for connection and not for, taking like a picture of my coffee for Instagram right now. That's absolutely unimportant. And that does not make that person feel very good, right? Don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Scheduling another coffee or another meeting at the end of the initial one is so, so important. If it's somebody that you're really invested in or interested in maintaining a connection with. So important. I appreciate you mentioning that and can't reinforce it enough because the cultural norm is, oh, this was fantastic. I loved it. Let's do this again sometime. And then it's the Christmas card situation. One of the things that I've done in an effort to convey the importance to the other person is to basically I've done this mostly with people that I have rapport with, that I genuinely do miss having regular connections with. I've been like, I would love to do this again. I had such a great time, and I don't want us to lose touch and do the thing that everyone does. So let's make sure to get this on a calendar. And most of the time, they're just as excited to do it. But again, it's not the cultural norm. And so most of the time, it's not even on people's radar unless, I've noticed, they are business owners. And then they'll just automatically be like, okay, let's get this on the calendar again. This was great, right? But a lot of people aren't thinking about that far into the future. And having those tiny little bites of a 30-minute meeting over Zoom, so that way you don't have to get in your car and look for parking and, deal with all of that. Even a 30-minute call while you're on a walk or a 30-minute Zoom to connect regularly with somebody it's been one of the most wonderful ways to reconnect with people and grow deeper friendships in the last 3 or 4 years than I think I've had in quite a long time, because we have gotten so busy and so disconnected from what the pandemic sort of habituated us to.
Yeah, and you're bringing up a great point that there will always be people that are more the connectors, and there will always be people that are maybe appreciating that.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, we also need to be okay with that friendships come and go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's so important to kind of think that friendships that are there for a reason or for a season, or friendships that are there for life.
Mhm.
And you have to be okay with that. You can't be hard on yourself and saying, well, I don't see these people anymore. That's okay. Maybe that was a friendship that was there for a season and other friendships come. And there's a reason for those friendships why they come. Because we change, people change, and sometimes things just don't line up. Again, it comes back to how we started this podcast episode. You can't think you can hang out with everybody. I would rather appreciate, telling you faster quality relationships, and maybe that's 10 of them, than thinking you need to hang out with 50 people, at all times. It comes back to the whole Christmas card exchange thing. We don't need to send out 500 Christmas cards. I want to think a little bit in terms of the connection I'm actually really building. I rather want to have quality relationships and build those and foster those. I kind of look at them, coming back to your Seattle comparison, as my little force that nourishes and nurtures me around me, that helps me become stronger and grow these roots with these people instead of having all these shallow little plants that I get everywhere and it's like totally overwhelming forest. And I don't even know where to turn anymore. That's not really, I think, what will help you, and it will definitely make you feel overwhelmed.
For people who are new to getting reconnected with themselves and understanding what it is that their needs actually are so that they can achieve those goals in the most authentic and purposeful way possible, what are some tips or tools that you bring to the table that you like to use to help others find that?
I have these terms that I use: the petite practice, the bistro break, the big connect. Another term that I use is the ABC framework, right? The ABC framework is you have to figure out what are your personal aspirations. What's on your bucket list that you always wanted to accomplish? And it can be a completely blasphemous goal, to speak your language, completely crazy, but you have to be writing that down, because the more you are aware that that's a dream, amazing. Then you have to figure out, what are you best at? And that's the B. Your aspirations. What are you really best at? What do you feel is something that other people frequently ask you for help with? And then thirdly, the C is, what or who do you care about? What is important to you? The environment? Is it a certain cause? Because the more you feel you're connecting your aspirations with what you're best with, what you care about, the more you will step into what I call your superpower. Because these three circles come together and they make this little Venn diagram of this intersection in the middle. And that's really the magic spot to where you're feeling you're stepping into the real you. But that's work that you have to do. You have to figure out what's on your bucket list. I don't know what's on Aimee's bucket list. I mean, I know a little bit about you, what you feel you're best at, but I don't know everything about who or what you care about.
Okay.
So that's something that you have to write down. And again, keep in mind, your own ABC framework will always be different from somebody else's.
Yep.
That's okay. But your own ABC framework might also change from year to year, because we are human beings and our aspirations might change. What might have been important in your 20s might not be in your 30s or 40s anymore. So you might even have to revisit your ABC framework over time. And the more you're okay with that you're adapting, that you're changing, the more you actually feel that you're learning from yourself, and you're rather looking at life as something like failures are just your first attempt in learning, and you're learning about yourself. And maybe that aspiration of, I'm just making the thing up, going to Egypt is not your aspiration anymore. Maybe now it is much, much simpler. Like, I don't know, maybe something different, right? So that's something very important that in order to really become the person with your unique superpower, you have to do the inner work first.
I love that. For our listeners who want to learn more about what you offer, where can people find you?
Yeah, so my company is called Hello Happy Nest.
Okay.
As the nest as being your comfort zone that you have to step into. And we talk a lot about the mindset. I would love for you to check out my book, which is called How to Master Your Goals. We talked a lot about goal setting and how to get there.
Yeah.
And my book is actually a curated collection of one-page worksheets. I'm guiding you through how we can connect with people in the Cafe Connect. I'm helping you in finding little activities where bistro breaks. And of course, I'm guiding you through the ABC framework to find your unique superpower. Check out my podcast, which is called Happy Healthy Hustle. And then, of course, just send me a DM, go to my website, hellohappiness.com, and I would love to hear from you.
Excellent. I'll be sure to include links to all of those in the show notes. Christiane, thank you so much for a wonderful conversation today.
Thank you, Aimee.
If you have found some nuggets of wisdom, make sure to subscribe, rate, and share Blasphemous Nutrition with those you care about. As you navigate the labyrinth of health advice out there, remember, health is a journey and not a dietary dictatorship. Stay skeptical, stay daring, and challenge the norms that no longer serve you. If you've got burning questions or want to share your own flavor of rebellion, slide into my DMs. Your stories fuel me, and I loved hearing them. Thanks again for tuning into Blasphemous Nutrition. Until next time, this is Aimee signing off, reminding you that truth is nuanced and any dish can be made better with a little bit of sass.